Hello. Um, we're here and we have a topic. Oh my god, that sounds funny. Anyway, this is the PNL podcast. Hi, my name is Elle and my co-host, Mr. Pierre.
Hi, I'm Pierre. Hello, Hel. Hello, Elle. I
Oh
always
wow.
misspelled your name. Wow. What's happening here?
Anyway, so today we're going to speak about Bill Gates' Think Week.
And Hermit week or weekend, I would say.
That's right. So, does anybody know what Think Week is? Why am I speaking as if somebody's gonna answer back to me? It's only P and L anyway. So, to be honest with you, I'm just gonna start it off like right now. To be honest with you, I don't really know what a Think Week is, and the concept of Hermit Weekend is just something that Mr. Pierre here has invented himself, So to explain
That's
to you
right.
something that I know better, which is Hermit Weekend, it means that Mr. Pierre would be, well, it's a weekend, so it's 2 days. He doesn't come out of his apartment. Well, if he wants to change of environment, he can go to a common area where he lives in an apartment.
It's in the same building, yeah.
It's in the same
where
building.
There's no one.
Just one lift away, and he doesn't go out for food. He doesn't go out to walk. He doesn't go out to see anybody. He just stays in this apartment to be productive. No distractions, no people, sometimes no phone. Mostly about just a bit of phone, let's say.
And always plane mode. That's the
Always
most
plane
important.
mode, no notification.
notifications.
So this
That's the
concept
goal.
is what Mr. Pierre has been doing for quite some time. And now he has introduced me to Think Week, which is more or less the same, I would say. So, Mr. Pierre, you explain to me what Think Week is by Bill Gates.
Well, maybe I will first start by the Hermit weekend, so
Okay.
you will be able to see the real difference. So Hermit weekend, why do I say weekend? It's because doing a Hermit week would be just too exhausting, because the principle of doing a Hermit weekend is to be really productive and to get things done. If you do it in a week, it's way too intense, and so it's just not doable. A Hermit weekend, I have done that several times by now. I used to do that every 2-3 months, and basically I stayed in my apartment. I see no one. Everything is on plane mode, no notifications. That's a goal. Otherwise, what's the point of doing a Hermit weekend? And I would prepare my Hermit weekend in advance, knowing exactly what I want to do during the weekend. So I'm prepared. And as soon as Saturday morning starts, usually I would wake up obviously early, especially on that day around 5. And I would getting things done until late on Saturday. I would feel quite satisfied of myself. Sometimes, obviously, you have up and down. I had some better Hermit weekend and some less better Hermit weekends, but in general, it has always been a really successful a way of getting the things I had to do done. So my last Hermit weekend, I have done a Udemy course, for instance. Unfortunately, I couldn't have finished it, but my Udemy course lasts for like 18 and a half hours. So obviously it's quite long to prepare to do it. So that makes sense. Sometimes I do some open source projects. Sometimes it's an opportunity for me to learn a new programming language, because I'm a software engineer. So that's why usually what I do, it's about tech. So last time also I was learning about different things like Solidity and blockchain and Excelsior and different languages as well, Elixir as well, and Phoenix, and what else? Erlang, for instance. That's a bit tech words, but usually you would do things you want to do for yourself. I love writing, so sometimes I would try or I would aim to finish a book I have started during another Hermit weekend, or it was maybe just during the normal days. So that's Hermit weekend. So obviously the principle is not being distracted. This is why I disabled the notifications, because for instance, if you check your emails and you have maybe a bad email or an email that will take space in your head, then your Hermit weekend will be damaged, and this is not what you want. So this is why you just want to be productive. Usually I would also eat, so I would buy food, usually cereals, because it's the easiest to eat, and well, I like it, and I feel still quite well after, and it doesn't require me to wash dishes or to prepare before. And obviously what I want during the Hermit weekend is to optimize my time as much as possible. Even ordering a delivery, you have to go to your phone. Then, it's a bit like Netflix syndrome. You would scroll down, checking all the restaurants, and you will end up spending 20 minutes on your phone to get food. No, this is not what you want for your Hermit weekend. So just get a lot of cereals. The nice cereals I like, usually like crunchy, mostly cereals, and I would eat them during the weekend, and pretty much that's it. I would drink coffee and tea as well, and that's it. I don't want to eat too much because I noticed that eating too much destroys my productivity. The less I eat, and the better I feel productive. Even sometimes I used to do that long time ago, I would say, just to fast for my Hermit weekend. Fasting is really good, so that way I would be more productive. So this is Hermit weekend, and now the Think week, it's slightly different because the goal is not to be productive, but the goal is just, well, to think. So the Think week, like what Elle said, has been popularized. I mean, has been Bill Gates has spoken a lot about it. I don't know if someone else did the Think week before, but basically you can do it for 7 days, for 5 days, or just for a weekend. That's really fine too. The best obviously there would be to change to a different environment, not to stay in your apartment, because you have to change to elsewhere, because the goal of the Think week is to think outside of the box. So if you stay in the same environment you live, well, nothing will change and you won't get new ideas. So just get an Airbnb, a hotel, or a few nice accommodations elsewhere. Can be in a village, in a city. Well, a city, normally it's better to do a Think week in a small village or in a suburb, far away from the main city, where you don't have a lot of people living nearby, where you don't have a lot of distractions, where you are just, I don't know, in Australia, I would say outback, in the outback, like in an area far away from the busy part of the city, and you would just usually not bring any devices that would distract you. A Kindle for reading, that's okay, but phone, computer, not, because there you don't want to be productive, so you don't need your laptop, you don't need your phone. It's usually just to get back to the basics. So the basics are like books. It's better still paper books, hardcover books whatsoever, but Kindle it's okay, but still it's nice to have them, to touch the paper. And yeah, that's also recommended. So you would just get like 3, 4, 5 books you want to read, one at a time. That's better. And during your week or during your weekend of the Think week, you would do some breaks. So you would just have a walk around, and it's just to be outside of all the distractions, just to take space and to be able to think again, to not have your brain frozen from all the things like the notifications and the all the, normally in our real life nowadays, unfortunately, we are always busy doing something and our brain is always thinking of something, and there is just to take some space to go somewhere, to be again in your bubble, and trying to be bored as well. Being bored again is nice, because it will help you to be more creative and to spend your time differently. You wouldn't do normally because you would always have something to do on your phone or your laptop, or being busy by by doing something at home. So this is also why it's important to not be at home, because in your house, in your apartment, normally you always have something to look after. When you are in a different environment, everything starts again from scratch. So you can again be just with yourself in the now moment. And writing obviously, it's also a really good really good activity you can do during your think week. It's nice to take a notepad, just to take some notes, and you can obviously take a tablet. Again, it's better to take a old-fashioned notepad, paper and pen, and pretty much that's it. You would go to the grocery store before to arrive at your destination for the think week. And again, you can bring your phone with you, but then you have to keep it off. If you pay with your mobile phone, that's fine before to arrive to your destination, but then you have to turn it off until you leave the place. That's really important, because otherwise, again, why to do a think week if you don't do it 100%? Because again, distraction, as soon as you get distracted, it might dwell you, like it might take space in your head for the remaining days, because maybe you saw something, maybe you saw a bad news whatsoever. Think week is also a bit like hermit weekend. Just be with the now moment. It also helps you to be aware of what surrounds you. And yes, pretty much that's it.
So basically, a hermit weekend is something where you have goals that you want to achieve.
Exactly.
It must be like a sprint. It must be short. Otherwise, you would be
really,
exhausted.
Yeah, a 2-day sprint. That's
yes.
right.
And then I think week is basically to escape the life that you have, the fast-paced life of where you are now, and move somewhere where you could not be distracted and think, read books, and start writing. It's not fast-paced. That's why it's a week. It's really slow. So that's why, that's
why
how
you can do it in a week, and you don't have to do it in a weekend, because hermit weekend, the goal is to achieve everything you wanted to achieve. So it's quite exhausting and it requires a lot of energy. So 2 days will be enough, 3 days maximum. But the think week, it's up to you, from 2 to 8 days, I would say. And yes, you can also play a instrument, like musical instrument, I would say, like guitar, piano. That's also fine during a think week, because reading for the whole day is not possible. It's recommended to have a little walk, to think about your ideas. It's also about thinking about your life, and just take, sometimes we have to hold a bit, because life, it's always, fast, quick, and we never have time to take some space and to think behind, and okay, what I want to do now, what direction I want for my life. And the think week is also about this. And you can also write a paper or something about your thinking, about the vision you have for your life. Can be personal, or maybe you will publish it later, like Bill Gates published a few papers while he was in his Think Week, and he was doing that while he was CEO of Microsoft, and it helped him to be more efficient after. And he was doing that 2 times a year. And yes, it's up to you. You don't have, like, you can do it just once a year, 4 times a year, just for 2 days, for 5 days, for 8 days. It's a bit like, it depends on the person, it depends on the personality. Some people, if they are alone after 2 days, they become a bit like, wow, I have to see people. For some others who are more introvert, I would say, that's really fine. You could also potentially do it with your partner. Kids, well, no, because kids will have hard time to think. To practice the Think Week. It will not be very good for them, and for you, you want to be able to be 100% there for the Think Week. But with your partner, that's potentially possible. Normally, it's not recommended, I would say, I believe. But yes, if both agree, I don't see why it wouldn't work. But again, you can have chit chat, but the goal is again about thinking.
So actually, I was thinking about the article that you passed to me. I forgot her name, or maybe I didn't read her name, but
I can share her name with you.
So while you look for the information, actually they were a couple, and they also brought their dog with them, named Lola. I remember the dog. Oh, it's Maddie Osman. Yeah, so she tried with her partner. She tried the Think Week, and so what they did was go to 2 locations. The point of their Think Week is not to be super isolated, I would say, because and to not stay on the Airbnb or the cabin that they rented, because they still had a bit of nature walks with their dogs, because they were surrounded with the Grand Canyon and the nature, and so they did some walks. But majority of what they did was she did some journals, and they did a lot of reading, and so yeah, that's what they did. They did it for, I'm not sure how many days, I forgot, but then
8-9 days.
8-9, yeah, maybe. So
because it was a bit far away from where they were living.
It's 5 hours away from where they live, actually. So they did, and she actually took some notes about what she think was best for a Think Week. Oh, it's 9 days, but the 9th day is drive from home, so not really considered as one of the Think Week. But then they started to listen to audiobooks while they were driving towards the location where they were supposed to go.
To be in the proper mindset.
Yes, they were already setting. And then after I read the article, I was just thinking, wow, this is Think Week is so new, and it's a problem that is not really a problem from where it came from, because people from developed countries who live in a much more fast-paced life, who are much more advanced when it comes to technology, who are reachable for their boss, who's doing a lot of things all at once. These people, the author of the blog was working a lot, and she's from America, so Bill Gates is somebody who works a lot too, and who came from a developed country. But I was thinking for myself, back home.
So for you,
yes,
it was a bit strange because you are from a developing country.
I am from a developing country. I'm from the Philippines, and when I think about all my cousins back home in the mountain, they were working during the day, and back in the mountains in the island, they were working during the day, fishing. Just doing island mountain things, and during the night, way before when I was young, they don't have electricity, so everything is turned off. So the only thing that is lighting up the house or the space is the stars, the moon, and so there's no electricity.
No electricity, no signal.
No signal for phone. Their phones are not smartphones. They have like those keypad phones, and then they play the guitar, and start laughing, telling
So
jokes.
this is the same. So for you, this
This
is
is
why it
this.
was a little bit strange,
Yes.
especially from I mean, those areas you are speaking about. It's not Manila. It's not the capital city of
It's
the
not the capital
Philippines.
city,
It's
no.
more like a rural area,
Rural
more or less.
areas.
So obviously there are way less distractions,
Yes.
and it's much more like a think week.
It's much more, for them, it's like think night all the time, every day. It's like, when I think about it, those people, my cousins, they have less in life compared to the people that we read in the blogs or Bill Gates, but then they don't really allot time to think for themselves, or to stay away from the fast-paced life, because they are living it, and I think that, wow, it's like we have different problems, as I would think, or we have different experiences in life, and yeah, it's just it gives you a perspective, like they're just like, oh yeah, I could be with myself. I could be away from my mobile phone. I don't even have a laptop, and they're doing well, and I think they're really happy. They earn skills that are less tech, I would say, but then they're already away from busy life, which is what I think was, it's a bit strange. Well, Think Week is new, I would say. I don't know, but but yeah, it's like, okay, even for me before, I don't have a phone before, so and and I was a well-read kid, I don't know what an iPad is. Even for now, I don't have iPads. I only had a smartphone when I graduated college. So when I first started earning money for myself. So that was so yes, 7 years ago, I was reading books for entertainment, and I
A
like
lot
it.
of Stephen King,
A
like
lot of Stephen King.
what the author of the blog, and now I forgot her name,
Yeah.
mentioned about it. So again, her name was. We are not really good at, again, usually when we are too busy or doing something else at the same time, we try also to be multitasking people. And because of this, we just remember the information for a few seconds and then we forget. And doing the Think Week you will just be able to focus at one thing at a time and not trying to be on the computer at the same time as speaking to your kids and cooking and doing something else as well at the same time. That's just impossible. So yeah, the author is Maddie Osman. Sorry, Maddie
Osman.
Osman.
So yeah, Maddie was actually considering Stephen King books, but
Yeah.
it was too long for her. So she doesn't want to consume one book for 3 days, because it was really long books by Stephen King. But yes, I was reading Stephen King books after school back when I was in college. So yeah, I for me, it's like, it's always decompressing every night. I decompress myself. I cook myself some sweet potatoes. I settle I settle myself to read a good book. Sometimes when I have nothing else to do, I don't have a phone, so I climb a mango tree and start harvesting and start eating some mango trees. No,
Just
sorry,
the basics.
mango fruits.
That's
Not
beautiful.
I don't eat trees anyway.
Sorry?
I said start eating mango trees. I don't eat trees. Okay, what I meant was mango fruits. Okay, so yeah, it was simple. I was living a simple life back home in the Philippines at my parents' house. So yeah, I was a bit confused, but maybe it's a new problem that developing countries are facing nowadays.
Yeah, it's
So
always
you know.
we create new problems that didn't exist before and that are not supposed to exist. It's like since now people have to install productivity apps on their phone, they have to follow a productivity system such as GTD, get things done, and then to done or another thing, another system, or they have to use productivity apps, Pomodoro, sprints, 80-20 principles. You make even your life more difficult just because of things of problems that were not there at the first place. And it's the same for a lot of things, and the same for the Think-week. Well, it's a new problem now you have to solve, and the same with people who try to live one day without a mobile phone. It sounds a bit hilarious.
I know.
For them, especially for young people, young generations, they have never been almost without a mobile phone. So for them, it's like, wow, have you seen? I could last one day without my cell phone. It's unbelievable. And this sounds like hilarious because it's such a new problem, and we realize actually that we feel happier without it, or at least with more space, with more like just being with the basics and being able to be with yourself, thinking about life, reading, but not just being busy all the time with your phone. And it's a bit also the same with FOMO, fear of missing out. You know, you always have the fear of missing something.
Really?
So you are always on the phone.
I never heard of that.
FOMO?
No.
Oh, yes, FOMO, it's well, it has been out there for a few years now, even more. Let me show it to you, FOMO. So while Elle is reading about FOMO, I would continue speaking. So yes, indeed, in developing countries, well, the expectations are lower, the expectation of the people. So by definition, they have, you know, they need less to be satisfied.
Yeah.
And in developed countries, they always need more and more and more. So finally, they are never satisfied because it never ends. It's like a competition. It's a bit like the rat race. They, you know, the richest man finally at the end, or the happiest man of the world, is not the one who has the most, but just the one who needs the least. And the more you need, it will never be enough. It's the same for the money. Just if you need the least and you are satisfied with that, well, then you have won your happiness. You win your happiness that way. And this is why Elle, from where you are from, because the expectation of maybe what you want or of everyday's life, just because the life is like this, is less. You are satisfied with this, and you don't think always more and more and more and more, because maybe you have less the competition mindset, like always being like winner, always like, and finally it never ends, because it's the same of having goals. You always want to achieve all your goals, but you will always have more and more and more. And so, you know, it's endless. Like you will always have something else, and you think, oh, once I have finished this, I will be satisfied, I will be happy. But then actually not. And then you need more and more until the end of your life.
But you see, I don't really blame people for having this, or, you know, because it is not their fault that, you know, it could be other factors, it's not them, but could be FOMO too. But then it's how the younger generations are now raised, and it's how they're exposed with from the start. So I don't really blame them or anybody with this. It's just the changing times are changing us, and, you know, it's creating more problems, I would say. It's like having a job. You want to be successful in your career, but then it requires you to be on your phone all the time so that you'll be reachable by your boss. Otherwise, you won't get the promotion. It's like, you know, it's forcing you to do those things. You don't want to be on your phone all the time, but then, you know, you have to reply to some emails. You have to be, you know, in the know, not FOMO. What does FOMO mean again? Fear of missing out. No.
I think it was, I don't know who came out with this. It probably came out in 2013, or isn't it by the author of Not Giving a Shit?
Oh,
you know,
him, the art of not giving.
Mark Manson.
Yeah.
Maybe I think he wrote an article like in 2016 or 2015. maybe, but I don't know from where it came from. Like, yes, Mark Manson was speaking about it 5 years ago, but I think it was there even before. It started with Facebook and the other social media platforms. Like, you always have a fear of missing out something. I mean, you have the fear you miss something, so you always check your phone. Or maybe I have a text, I check. Or maybe I have an email, and what if I don't reply now? My friend will think I'm dead, maybe, you know. Now it's always instant, and you never have a little space just for you, just to be with yourself in the moment, and just to enjoy what is surrounds you. I mean, what surrounds yourself. Just to enjoy, like, your apartment, the city you live in. Maybe I've met some people, they live in a city for years and years and have never been to the park next door or to the botanic gardens or whatsoever. And just because they're too busy by doing always the same things, and it will never end.
Yeah, so going back to the source of this problem, well, it's not really us, you know. And I feel like there are people that, oh, me, I don't really spend on my phone all the time, and you know, I'm so different. You know, it's like, well, you know, it's not really anybody's fault. Well, to some it could be, but then, you know, it's not our fault that sometimes we need to be on the phone all the time, you know. And it's some teenagers, that's how they're raised, you know. It's you know, it has to be from somebody, but not innate. Could be innate, but then, you know, it's not all us, I would say. So it's really like, what can we do? It's the change in times that's changing us. So, you know,
Yes.
even for me, I used to be satisfied with just reading, but now I haven't read a book. But I read a book this year, but then I haven't read as much as I was reading back when I was a teenager. Book after book after book, I don't stop, you know? And it's like,
Now you are living a different kind of
now
lifestyle.
I'm living a different kind of lifestyle because the times are changing. I am changing, and you know,
Your
it's
environment as well.
yes. So it's like, are we really at fault with this problem that we need to find time to think for ourselves?
And now you have to create this kind of
Yes.
Think-week.
Yeah, not
But
really, I would say.
at the same
Yeah.
time, well, I believe we need discipline. And what you were saying about the teenagers on their phone all day long, you have to know when you have to stop. And it's so easy to spend 3 hours on your phone without realizing it. When you are reading a book, well, I think the notion of the time is more visible, perhaps. Also with movies, I traveled a lot before to move to Australia, and I've seen a lot of teenagers a bit younger than me, and they were on watching movies non-stop all day long in their bed, while traveling. When I was in buses, like coaches, you know, like those kind of bus, and they were in their phone all day long, non-stop, and they were not even looking at the sceneries in the bus, because, yeah, you know, they're just addicted. But you have to know when you have to stop, when it's enough, and discipline is really important. Again, discipline equals freedom. It's so true. When you are disciplined with yourself, at least you know, okay, now I need some time just for myself and to isolate myself. And this is why I believe Think-week is really important. Although I totally agree with you, Elle, we shouldn't need this. But at least doing it is better than not having a time to think at all. So now people need a Think-week, maybe for some, and just to be again in the moment, reading and doing things for thinking, and that's so important. Although you shouldn't need this, because it's something that sounds so, like, it's like eating or breathing. It's like essential, but unfortunately nowadays we don't even have the time to think, and it's so hard to find the time also to think. Especially I'm thinking about parents. They are always busy with something, and if they take holidays, it's always going to one city to another one, visiting the museums, and it's non-stop. So sometimes they just need to take some time for themselves just to think, and that's it. And the kids will be babysitted with the grandparents or with a babysitter, but just for 2 days, I believe it's important, because sometimes it's just not possible to find it, and it's better to do a think week rather than just being busy until you are 75 and then you just realized, wow, I all my life has already passed more or less, and I never decided what I wanted. It's better to take a think week earlier than later. A think week is obviously not only, or it doesn't have to be there to think about your life, but just to enjoy the moment while reading, writing. I believe for me, my perception of a think week would be different. For some people, it's just to think about their life. For some others, it's just to read a lot. For me, I think I would more use my think week to think about more like business, what I want to create in my life, like more like a product, a business, a startup, or more like trying to write some notes about a project, a side project I want to build. I would use probably my think week more that way, and I would bring the books I need for thinking about that site or that specific project. But for some others, it's just to be there and to think of their life and what they want to do next.
Well, yeah, I imagine you doing that. Probably you'd get a couple of articles out there for your Think Week. But for me, my Think Week is probably gonna be. I know the point of Think Week is not to worry about cooking and everything, but cooking relaxes me. So probably I will
You
treat
can do
myself
that
well.
as well.
Treat myself well. Read a lot of books. Probably rediscover who I was before. Because
It's
because
important.
yeah.
Basically, a think week is really flexible. It doesn't now. It's no devices, no laptops, no, like just be with the basics. So nothing digital basically, but cooking, having a walk, reading, taking notes on a paper notebook, and basically that's it. Having a bath, having a nap, and just being aware of what surrounds you, the birds, nearby, looking at the nature, the trees, the wind, and enjoying the nature. And that's why it's quite important to not be in a city or in a hotel, but more like in a guest house or in a Airbnb house.
In a cabin.
In a cabin, exactly.
In the woods.
Exactly, that's perfect. A log cabin will be like the perfect place, and in the middle of the nature, that would be the perfect place for a think week.
Yeah, that's right. But when I think about other aspects of how people are privileged to do Think Week, no? Because some don't even have the time to do it because they have to keep working just to be able to support themselves or to achieve some sort of monetary goal or to help pay for bills of their loved ones, which is yeah, having a Think Week, being able to plan and follow through a Think Week is, I think, a privilege for some, and I just want to speak out about how some people are struggling to even find time for themselves, to breathe, to even find a day off or just one day off for themselves. So for those who can do a Think Week, well, you're very privileged and lucky to be able to do that, because some are just not able to because financially they're struggling, and leaving for 1 week is gonna take a financial hit to them. So I think we should just appreciate that some people could do a think week because some can't, which is a reality that is quite sad, I would say.
Yes, unfortunately, it's not possible for everybody. Again, we mentioned that it's more a problem of Western countries and developed countries in general. And actually, those people are more able to do a think week as well because they have more days off and they have more savings. They have more. They have I would say, a slightly bigger budget to do a think week. But I know from what you told me previously, Elle, in the Philippines, for instance, I think you told me you just have 7 days of 6 days of a year, and I think would be quite expensive as well. And 6 days, well, you don't want to spend your six only days off you have for the whole year for doing a think week. Now, like what you said, at least from where you are from in the Philippines, a think week doesn't really make sense either.
Oh yeah, it doesn't make sense.
But if you want to do one, it would be harder. But at the same time, maybe the education or just the lifestyle there is slightly different, and you don't. It's a bit weird for you to have a think week. Obviously, I believe some countries have both disadvantages. They are so busy, they really need a think week, and unfortunately, they can't really. I know even the USA, they just have, I think, 10 days off
I was about to
year.
say.
So there it's like, okay, they earn more, they have much more money usually to be able to do a think week, but then they would have to do it between two jobs probably, while they are resigning from the previous job and before to start the new one, or maybe just not being paid.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say to you, Mr. Pierre. It's like, it's not only us, because for us it doesn't make sense, but for those people, because just because you live in Western country or that you're a developing country doesn't mean everybody is rich. Some are just like working their butts off all the time and can't afford to just stay out of a job, because they have bills to pay. Living is expensive nowadays, which I understand. So even for Western people, they couldn't afford to do a think week, which I think is just I think taking time off for ourselves, thinking, relaxing should be written in legislations or something, because it's like we're not robots, we're not we're not slaves of corporations or money. So I don't know.
Definitely not. Life is so short, and the only time you might realize, when you are not in the now moment, when you don't live in the moment, and you are always focusing on different things or focusing about the future, the past, and then you will turn 75, and you say, wow, now I can finally have a little time for myself, and actually it's too late, because maybe, I know I shouldn't say that, but it's the truth, maybe you would have a cancer at that time.
You'll
let's
be ill,
face
let's
the
just
reality, or just having a disease, or just maybe not being able to enjoy what you could have done earlier, because the body is not, it's normal. The body aged, and maybe what you like is different, and then what you could have done earlier would be different at that time, and it's just too late. And then you realize, wow, I just did paycheck after paycheck, working, sleeping, working, and that's it. Am I on planet Earth for doing that? Well, I don't think so. You have to do some sacrifices. It's not easy, but sometimes just taking a think week, it's a good investment on yourself. But again, like what Elle said, it's not easy for everybody. But if you can do, just do it.
Do it, yes, do it. Don't, as what somebody has always told me, don't postpone something that you wanted to do. Do it now. And that's from Mr. Pierre Henry. So yeah, I always tell him, if you want to do a think week, do it. What's stopping you? I tell him. Anyway.
Don't move it for later. Don't postpone it for later. What you want to do it now. What's the point? Otherwise, the perfect moment, the good moment will never be there. The good moment is now. Like what the Chinese proverb says, the best moment to plant a tree was 20 years ago, and the second best moment it's just now.
Is it Chinese or Japanese?
I thought it was Chinese proverb.
I have no idea. Anyway, yeah, I've heard of that proverb. Okay, so I guess that's it for me about Think Week and Hermit weekends and anything that, de-stresses a human being. What about you, Mr. Pierre?
For me too, it's time to think now.
I think it's time to think now. Anyways, we'll see you for our next podcast.
Bye bye.